The sheriff thought the frightened single dad standing beside his daughter was just another poor man who didn't know his place. So he humiliated him in front of everyone. "You think you're important?" Sheriff Cole laughed as several deputies watched. "Look at you. You can't even afford a decent car, and you're going to tell me how to do my job." The little girl tightened her grip around her father's hand. "Please don't hurt my daddy," she whispered. The sheriff smiled. "Maybe your father should have thought about that before breaking the law." The father said nothing. He simply looked at his daughter and whispered, "It's okay, sweetheart. We're going to be fine." Then the sheriff ordered him to turn around and put his hands behind his back. But the moment the handcuffs clicked shut, the father's expression changed. He calmly looked at the sheriff and said, "You really should have checked my identification before doing this." The sheriff laughed. "Why? Are you somebody important?" The man reached into his wallet. He pulled out a black federal badge. The sheriff's smile disappeared. The deputies froze. And when the sheriff finally read the words printed beneath the man's name, his entire face went pale. Because the quiet single dad he had just humiliated wasn't a criminal. He was an FBI special agent working undercover. And he had been investigating the sheriff's department for weeks. But the biggest shock wasn't the badge. It was what the FBI agent had secretly recorded while the sheriff was humiliating him. And by the end of that night, the entire town would discover exactly what had been happening behind the locked doors of the sheriff's office. Daniel Brooks never wanted his daughter to see him afraid. He had made that promise to himself years ago. Since his wife died, he had tried to become everything Emma needed. Father. Mother. Teacher. Protector. Best friend. He wasn't wealthy. He didn't drive an expensive vehicle. He lived in a modest house on the edge of town. But he had something money couldn't buy. He had Emma. His 9-year-old daughter was the center of his world. Every morning, Daniel prepared breakfast while Emma complained about her school uniform. Every evening, he helped her with homework. And every night, before she went to sleep, she asked the same question. "Daddy, are you going to be here tomorrow?" Daniel always smiled. Always. But there was something Emma didn't know. Her father wasn't an ordinary mechanic, as she believed. Daniel was a federal agent. For nearly a year, he had been working undercover in the small town of Red Creek. His assignment was confidential. Someone inside the local law enforcement system was suspected of selling seized evidence, protecting criminals, and accepting bribes. The investigation had started quietly. Then Daniel discovered something much bigger. Money was disappearing from the sheriff's evidence department. Confiscated drugs were being replaced with harmless substances. Weapons were vanishing. And certain suspects were being released without explanation. Daniel had spent months collecting information. But he needed one final piece of evidence. That evidence was connected to Sheriff Marcus Cole. Cole was respected by most people in town. He spoke at community events. He donated to local charities. He appeared on television whenever there was a major crime. People called him a hero. But Daniel had learned that appearances could be dangerous. That morning, Daniel received a message. "We have the transfer records." A second message followed. "Meet at county storage facility. 4:30 p.m. Daniel stared at his phone. Then Emma walked into the kitchen. "Daddy." He quickly locked his phone. "Yes. Can we go to the ice cream shop after school?" Daniel smiled. "Of course. You promise?" "I promise." Emma smiled. She had no idea her father was walking into the most dangerous part of his investigation. At 4:20 p.m., Daniel parked near the county storage facility. He had brought Emma with him because her babysitter had canceled unexpectedly. He didn't want to take her. But he couldn't leave her alone. "Stay in the car," he told her. "Why?" "I need to talk to someone." Emma looked worried. "Are you in trouble?" Daniel smiled. "No." Then he added quietly. "Remember what I always tell you?" Emma nodded. "Stay calm." "Exactly." Daniel walked toward the storage building. But before he reached the door, Sheriff Cole's patrol vehicle pulled up. 2 deputies stepped out. Cole followed. He stared at Daniel. Well. Daniel stopped. Sheriff. Cole looked at Emma sitting in the car. Then back at Daniel. What are you doing here? Just picking something up. From county property. Daniel nodded. I have permission. Cole smiled. From whom? Daniel didn't answer. Cole stepped closer. Open the trunk. Daniel remained calm. I don't think that's necessary. Cole's expression hardened. You don't tell me what is necessary. Emma watched from the car. Daniel could see the fear in her eyes. He tried to keep his voice calm. Sheriff, my daughter is waiting. Cole laughed. Your daughter? He looked toward the car. Maybe you should teach her not to sit around while her father breaks into government property. Daniel's jaw tightened. I haven't broken into anything. Cole stepped closer. Then why are you here? I can't discuss that. That answer made Cole angry. What did you say? Daniel looked at him. I said I can't discuss it. Cole turned toward his deputies. Search him. One deputy approached. Daniel raised his hands. I'm cooperating. The deputy searched his pockets. Nothing. Then Cole noticed Daniel's wallet. He took it. What's this? My identification. Cole opened it. He found Daniel's driver's license. Nothing unusual. He smiled. You're Daniel Brooks. Yes. Unemployed mechanic. Daniel didn't respond. Cole held up the wallet. You don't look like much of a threat. Emma stepped out of the car. Daddy. Daniel immediately turned. Emma, stay there. But Cole walked toward her. You should listen to your father. Emma stopped. Cole looked at Daniel. Your daughter seems nervous. She doesn't like police. Maybe because her father has taught her not to trust us. Daniel's expression hardened. Leave her out of this. Cole laughed. Or what? Daniel remained silent. Cole suddenly grabbed Daniel's arm. Turn around. Emma cried out. Daddy. Daniel looked at her. It's okay. The sheriff pulled Daniel's hands behind his back. The handcuffs clicked. Emma began crying. Please. Daniel looked at his daughter. Emma, listen to me. Cole interrupted. Maybe she'll learn what happens when people don't respect authority. Daniel slowly looked at the sheriff. You're making a mistake. Cole laughed. A mistake. He pushed Daniel forward. You've been hanging around county property, refusing to answer questions, and now you're threatening me. I didn't threaten you. Sure you didn't. Several people had gathered nearby. Some were recording with their phones. Cole wanted them to see Daniel as a criminal. He wanted Daniel humiliated. Tell everyone who you are, Cole said. Daniel remained silent. Cole smiled. That's what I thought. Emma was crying. Daddy, please. Daniel turned toward her. Look at me. She did. I'm okay. But they put handcuffs on you. I know. Are you going to jail? Daniel smiled gently. No. Cole laughed. You're definitely going to jail. Daniel looked at him. Are you sure? Cole nodded. Absolutely. Daniel sighed. Then he reached into his jacket. Cole immediately grabbed his arm. What are you doing? Getting my identification. You already showed me your driver's license. No. Daniel slowly pulled out a small black wallet. He opened it. Inside was a federal badge. The sheriff stared. Daniel held it up. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Special Agent Daniel Brooks. The smile disappeared from Cole's face. One deputy stepped backward. Another looked at the sheriff. Emma stopped crying. Daniel spoke quietly. You should have checked my identification before putting those cuffs on me. Cole stared at the badge. This isn't real. Daniel said nothing. Cole grabbed the badge. Daniel allowed him to take it. The sheriff examined it. Then looked at Daniel's face. You're FBI. Daniel nodded. Yes. The people standing nearby began whispering. Cole's face turned pale. But Daniel wasn't finished. He looked toward the storage facility. You asked why I was here. Cole swallowed. Why? Daniel looked at him. Because I have reason to believe evidence has been illegally removed from the building. Cole froze. Daniel continued. And I've been investigating this department for the last 6 months. Silence. Then Daniel added. You've just given me another piece of evidence. Cole looked confused. What? Daniel's eyes moved toward the small recording device attached beneath his jacket. Everything you said has been recorded. The sheriff stared at him. The deputy stared. Emma looked at her father with a mixture of fear and amazement. Daniel turned toward her. He smiled. Come here, sweetheart. Emma ran into his arms. Daniel held her tightly. You did nothing wrong, he whispered. But before they could leave, Daniel's phone rang. He answered. A voice from FBI headquarters spoke. Agent Brooks, we have a problem. Daniel's expression changed. What happened? We found the financial records. And they lead directly to Sheriff Cole. Daniel looked at the sheriff. Then the voice continued. But there's something else. What? The money isn't just coming from local criminals. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Then where? A pause. From someone inside the federal system. Daniel slowly looked toward the sheriff. The case had just become much bigger. Daniel drove home with Emma beside him. She was unusually quiet. Finally, she asked. Daddy. Yes. Are you really FBI? Daniel smiled. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Because my job sometimes requires secrets. Emma looked out the window. Was Sheriff Cole a bad guy? Daniel didn't answer immediately. Sometimes people make very bad choices. Are you going to arrest him? Daniel smiled. That's not my decision alone. Emma thought for a moment. Then she said. He was mean to you. Daniel nodded. He was. Were you scared? Daniel looked at her. Yes. Emma seemed surprised. You were. Being brave doesn't mean you aren't afraid. He reached over and squeezed her hand. Being brave means doing the right thing even when you're afraid. Emma smiled. I think you're brave. Daniel's eyes filled with emotion. Thank you. That night, Daniel returned to the FBI safe location. His team was waiting. Agent Rachel Morgan placed a folder on the table. We found the money trail. Daniel opened it. Several shell companies. Fake charities. Offshore accounts. Large transfers. And one name appeared repeatedly. David Cole. The sheriff's older brother. Daniel frowned. David died 3 years ago. Rachel shook her head. Officially. Daniel looked at her. What does that mean? We believe he faked his death. Daniel stared at the documents. Why? Rachel pointed toward the final page. He wasn't just laundering money. Daniel's expression hardened. He was coordinating the entire operation. Daniel looked at the evidence. Then he noticed something. What's this? Rachel pointed to a series of payments. They were going to someone outside the county. Daniel studied the name. Then his blood ran cold. He knew it. It belonged to a senior federal official. Someone who had access to confidential investigations. Someone who could have known Daniel's undercover identity. Rachel looked at him. We think there's a leak inside the FBI. Daniel leaned back. That explained everything. Someone had been warning the sheriff. Someone had known where evidence was being stored. Someone knew Daniel was investigating. And someone had deliberately placed him in danger. Daniel looked at the clock. "Where's the evidence?" Rachel answered. "Still at the storage facility." Daniel immediately stood. "We need a warrant." "Already obtained." They drove to the facility. Federal agents surrounded the building. Sheriff Cole was arrested without resistance. But when they opened the storage room, they discovered something unexpected. Rows of evidence boxes. Most were empty. Someone had already removed the contents. Daniel walked through the room. He stopped at one shelf. There was a small metal box. He opened it. Inside was a photograph. Daniel picked it up. It showed Sheriff Cole standing beside a federal official. The man who appeared in the photograph was the same person whose name appeared in the financial records. Rachel looked over his shoulder. "Oh my God." Daniel nodded. "That's our leak." But there was another photograph beneath it. Daniel picked it up. His face changed. It showed Sheriff Cole standing with a man Daniel had never seen before. Rachel recognized him. David Cole. Daniel stared. The man who was supposed to be dead was alive. And he knew exactly what Daniel looked like. Suddenly, the building lights went out. Everyone froze. A loud crash came from the rear entrance. Rachel reached for her radio. Movement in the building. Daniel pulled Emma's photograph from his wallet. He remembered his promise. Always. He had to survive. Not just for himself. For her. Agents moved through the darkened hallway. Daniel remained calm. A door slammed. Then another. Finally, the suspect tried to escape through the rear exit. Agents surrounded him. Daniel stepped forward. David Cole. The men stopped. He turned slowly. Daniel recognized him immediately. The supposedly dead man smiled. "You're persistent." Daniel looked at him. "You've been hiding for 3 years." David shrugged. "People believe what they're told." Daniel stepped closer. "Not anymore." David looked at him. "You think arresting me changes anything?" Daniel said nothing. David smiled. "You have no idea how many people are involved." Daniel's expression remained calm. "Maybe not." Then he looked toward Rachel. "But we have enough." David's smile disappeared. The arrest made national news. The sheriff's department was investigated. Several officials were charged. The federal official involved in the scheme was removed from office and prosecuted. "We think there's a leak inside the FBI." Daniel leaned back. That explained everything. Someone had been warning the sheriff. Someone had known where evidence was being stored. Someone knew Daniel was investigating. And someone had deliberately placed him in danger. Daniel looked at the clock. "Where's the evidence?" Rachel answered. "Still at the storage facility." Daniel immediately stood. "We need a warrant." Already obtained. They drove to the facility. Federal agents surrounded the building. Sheriff Cole was arrested without resistance. But when they opened the storage room, they discovered something unexpected. Rows of evidence boxes. Most were empty. Someone had already removed the contents. Daniel walked through the room. He stopped at one shelf. There was a small metal box. He opened it. Inside was a photograph. Daniel picked it up. It showed Sheriff Cole standing beside a federal official. The man who appeared in the photograph was the same person whose name appeared in the financial records. Rachel looked over his shoulder. "Oh my God." Daniel nodded. "That's our leak." But there was another photograph beneath it. Daniel picked it up. His face changed. It showed Sheriff Cole standing with a man Daniel had never seen before. Rachel recognized him. David Cole. Daniel stared. The man who was supposed to be dead was alive. And he knew exactly what Daniel looked like. Suddenly, the building lights went out. Everyone froze. A loud crash came from the rear entrance. Rachel reached for her radio. Movement in the building. Daniel pulled Emma's photograph from his wallet. He remembered his promise. Always. He had to survive. Not just for himself. For her. Agents moved through the darkened hallway. Daniel remained calm. A door slammed. Then another. Finally, the suspect tried to escape through the rear exit. Agents surrounded him. Daniel stepped forward. David Cole. The men stopped. He turned slowly. Daniel recognized him immediately. The supposedly dead man smiled. You're persistent. Daniel looked at him. You've been hiding for 3 years. David shrugged. People believe what they're told. Daniel stepped closer. Not anymore. David looked at him. You think arresting me changes anything? Daniel said nothing. David smiled. You have no idea how many people are involved. Daniel's expression remained calm. Maybe not. Then he looked toward Rachel. But we have enough. David's smile disappeared. The arrest made national news. The sheriff's department was investigated. Several officials were charged. The federal official involved in the scheme was removed from office and prosecuted. The evidence Daniel had collected during his undercover operation became the key to dismantling the entire network. But Daniel remembered something more important than all of it. The little girl who had cried when she saw her father in handcuffs. A few weeks later, Daniel took Emma to the same town. They visited the community center. A crowd had gathered. People who had once watched Daniel being humiliated now applauded him. But Daniel didn't care about applause. He walked toward the little girl who had once been afraid of seeing her father arrested. Emma looked up at him. Daddy. Yes. Are you famous now? Daniel laughed. No. You should be. Why? Because you're a hero. Daniel knelt beside her. Heroes aren't people who have special badges. Then what are they? People who protect others when they have the chance. Emma smiled. Like you. Daniel hugged her. Like you too. The town eventually changed. The sheriff's office became more accountable. Citizens demanded transparency. The department created new policies to prevent abuse of power. And Daniel continued his work with the FBI. But he never forgot that day. The day a powerful man believed a simple-looking single father was powerless. The day a sheriff judged someone by his clothes, his car, and his appearance. And the day a little girl learned that her father could stand against people who believed they were untouchable. Daniel often told Emma one lesson whenever she doubted herself. Never confuse someone's position with their character. A badge doesn't make someone honorable. Money doesn't make someone valuable. Power doesn't make someone right. Character does. Courage does. And the way you treat people who cannot do anything for you reveals more about you than the way you treat powerful people ever will. Because sometimes the person you humiliate today may be the person who has the power to expose the truth tomorrow. And sometimes the quietest person in the room isn't powerless. They're simply waiting for the right moment to speak.